Thanks for being a part of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, we're coming to you from our outstanding studios at First Star Logistics. And today, we catch up with Bengals quarterback coach Dan Pitcher. The Bengals extended his contract. He went down to Tampa Bay and was a candidate to be their offensive coordinator down there. But thankfully, he's staying with the Cincinnati Bengals. The dynamic he has with Joe Burrow, Dan Pitcher, Brian Callahan, that's one heck of a trio. These guys all respect each other. They all respect each other's football IQ. They're on the same page. It's symbiotic. Man, there's a lot of years of good football to watch with these three guys working together. And a big part of it is Dan Pitcher. And he'll explain why. Just listen to what Dan Pitcher has to say here. You'll enjoy the fact that he is the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback coach. Appreciate you for joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham. We're here at our studios as always and at First Star Logistics, and we're joined by a very special guest, quarterback coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, Dan Pitcher. And Coach, congratulations, first and foremost. Haven't had a chance to catch up since the season ended. I know when the season ends like it ends in the playoffs, whenever it ends in the playoffs, it's like, whew, you fall off a cliff a little bit. I mean, it's over. The suddenness of it is amazing. But, boy, what a season the Cincinnati Bengals had. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. Obviously all of us are very disappointed with how it finished, and that sticks with you for a while. But I think when you get a little bit further away from it with some hindsight, you can appreciate, some of the things we were able to accomplish and recognize that, we're really establishing a standard for, this organization and what we expect to do moving forward. So, a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff to work on. Obviously we want to be the last team standing. And so everything we do from this point forward is to help us get to that spot.
For the first time in franchise history, the team goes to a Super Bowl and then advances to the conference championship game. The following season, one game short of the Super Bowl. Back-to-back seasons like that, not an easy accomplishment whatsoever. What was the key to sustaining that level of success in your estimation?
I think we have a lot of guys that are made of the right stuff, that understand that every week is a new week, and you have to go through the process. You have to prepare. This league it's too good. The teams are too good. Your opponents are too good. That nothing's ever guaranteed, and so it just takes a collection of people that understand that and believe in the process, know what they have to do to get themselves ready. And as long as everybody does those things, that collectively we'll be ready as a team. And I think that's what you need to sustain success. And I think that's what we've been able to do.
What do you think in hindsight, and maybe not just a thing, maybe it might be more than one thing, but what do you look at as bigger accomplishments over the course of the 2022-23 season as you reflect back on it?
Well, I just think, you got 5 playoff wins, which are so hard to come by because of everything that's at stake when you play those, 3 of which came on the road. Just our ability to go into hostile environments and play some of our best football is something that I think projects forward as, an ability for us to continue to do that and win big games. Now we want to play those games at home. I thought we were excellent at home this year. I think we played with the playoff game. We played 8 games. I think we're 7-1, and
yep.
The one is the first game of the year, which is crazy.
Yep.
So we love playing well in front of our home fans, and we love being able to go on the road and do the same. So it's hard to pinpoint specific things, but I just think we've played good football in some critical moments, and we pride ourselves on that.
Was the biggest challenge dealing with the offensive line issues down the stretch? I mean, you have that 10-game winning streak, at the end of the regular season and into the playoffs, the most opportune time to have a 10-game winning streak. You go on one. Was the biggest challenge kind of plugging in and trying to, finish strong with the offensive line?
I mean, I think anytime you lose key guys, it's a challenge.
Right.
No matter what position they're at. It just so happened that we lost three along that front, but I mean, I thought the guys that stepped in did an admirable job. I mean, you look at that Buffalo game, and I thought that might have been one of our, if not our best performance up front all year. And so
Yeah.
it's those are issues that are universal for every team in the NFL. Some feel them more than others in varying years, but you're going to deal with injuries, and it's incumbent on the people that step into those roles to play at a very high level. And I thought we had guys do that. Obviously it's difficult, when you lose guys that are playing at a really high level, like Alex and like Lyle and Jonah, that those guys are doing a nice job for us. And so, next guy up, it's an overused mantra, but it's true because you don't have time to think about it.
Right. Right. You work directly with Joe Burrow, quarterback coach, and done a heck of a job. He admires your talents and you admire his. It's a heck of a dynamic. There's no question about it. How much better a quarterback is Joe Burrow now than he was when he first came to the Cincinnati Bengals out of LSU?
I think he's grown in a lot of areas. I think a lot of that is just a product of playing NFL football.
Right.
In any profession, right? If you have somebody who's smart and dedicated and can take in new information, retain that, and use that to better themselves, you can't help but get better. And I think Joe's really done that, and we've just kind of guided him through that process. And so really proud of where Joe is at right now. I think as he continues to play more, he'll only get better. I think he has a great big picture understanding of what we're asking him to do and what the team needs him to do to sustain that success, right? To not always, it's not all, when you're playing the play, right? That's the most important thing in the world, right? The play that you're in, because it's the only play that's happening in that moment. But there's also something to having a big picture perspective and understanding how to make decisions with that in mind. And I think Joe has done a good job of gaining more of that perspective. He had it already when he came here. He's very mature. He understands those things, but he's gotten better, and I think he'll continue to get better.
The Cincinnati Bengals recognize your talents and have extended your contract, and rightfully so. What was it like being pursued by other teams in the National Football League? You get an opportunity to go down to Tampa Bay and talk to them about being the offensive coordinator. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals are a model of success. I mean, a lot of franchises around the NFL are saying, man, we want a piece of that. Look at where they were and where they are now, where they've come. Man, we want a little piece of that. What was it like when you visited Tampa Bay?
It was a great experience. Those are opportunities that I'm excited about, and I hope continue to present themselves for years to come. And it's really just a reflection of what you just said, is that we're doing something here in Cincinnati that is working, and it's producing excellent play on the field. It's coaches are growing and getting better, and it's really a product of how Zach has kind of laid this whole thing out and given guys responsibility and asked a lot of them, and I think guys are providing a lot in return. And so it was nice to have that recognition, that experience. I enjoyed it. I really got to know some of the guys down there, Coach Bowles, Jason Light, guys that I respect and grew to have a lot of admiration for. And so it was a good process.
So take me through your protocol, your preparation, for the process when you were going down there. How do you prepare for an opportunity like that? Do you study? Do a deep dive into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization currently, its past, what you think the future might hold? I mean, how do you approach all that?
Yeah, there was a lot. That's part of the value of having to go through it is really, like a lot of things in life, you think about what you're going to need to do in that moment, and then when the rubber hits the road, it's like, oh man, I there's 5, 6, 7, 8 other things that I maybe kind of thought about, but so yeah, that's you look at their team, who their players are, what they've done well, maybe what they've struggled with. A big part of it is just getting your own thoughts together and your philosophy on, how you would how you would lead a group in the direction that you would want to take the unit if you were given that opportunity, and how you mesh all those ideologies, and how you would lead a staff, how you would put together a weekly schedule, what scheme are you going to run, where does that scheme come from, why are you going to do that, anticipating the questions that are going to come at you. And so it was a really useful process for me to go through. It helps you kind of hone in on what you really believe. And I think you're better for it on the other end, no matter the outcome.
Did Tom Brady factor in at all in terms of what you thought you might do, or how big of a piece was that? Oh, Tom Brady, if he had decided to come back for another year, that's one set of circumstances. If he doesn't, that's another set of circumstances. And then he obviously had already announced that he wasn't, but you never know with him. Did the Tom Brady factor come into it all in discussion?
I think you factor a lot of different things, and who the players are, the potential players are at a destination where you're thinking about maybe, pursuing. Those things matter. But ultimately it really just comes down to, having a discussion with my wife and where we felt we were here in the stage of our career here in Cincinnati, loving being a part of this, and really just having a great respect for the way we're doing it, and wanting to continue to be a part of that for now and for the future. So that was really the biggest thing that it came down to.
That's awesome. So take us through what the season ended, and you had the interview, and then at some point you got to decompress. You got to get away from football. Coaches are human beings too. They got to have a little bit of downtime. Take us through the season ends. You have the Tampa Bay Opportunity, and you work through all that. And then what did you do, Coach?
So that was, I felt like I really didn't get to hit the off switch, for another probably 10 to 14 days after the season's over. But then finally last week, myself, my wife, and our little guy, who's going to be 1 year old here in a couple of days, just went down to Florida for a week and shut off and just kind of relaxed and tried to get away from it all, which I think is very important. I think you need that to have perspective. It makes you better at your job, being able to step away, because it renews your energy and renews your focus, and it allows you to be a person and be a husband and be a dad. And if you can't be those things first, you're never going to be as good at what the job requires of you, because you have to take care of those, what's important first. And so grateful to have that opportunity and re-energize now to step back into the off season and everything that goes with that.
With the experience of last year going to the Super Bowl and how that compresses your off season, how beneficial was it to have that under your belt as you almost get to the Super Bowl? You're in the AFC Championship game, you're one step away, and the offseason compresses as a result. You still have a little bit more time, to try to catch back up for the combine, which is coming up here next week, and things of that nature. I mean, what's that process like, trying to catch up and get an idea about what prospects are thought of in this way, or regarded highly or not so highly, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like you're drinking from a fire hose early on, but you kind of just make your to-do list, right? All right, these are the guys I got to watch for free agency. This is what I got to watch for the draft, and what I have to make sure I have done before I go to the combine, and then what does the month after the combine look like? And you kind of, you understand what all those points in the calendar mean for you. The great thing is we've had people in this organization that have been putting in work in all those areas for months and months now. When it comes to Duke and Steve and Mike and Trey and Christian and AJ and all those guys, like they've laid the groundwork, they've done all that stuff. So really, it's just for the coaches, it's on us now to just kind of come in and add our little piece over these last couple months leading up to it. Really, free agency is not that far away, so that one kind of have a little bit more urgency there. And and then the draft is what it is. So it's having been through it, and that's where my roots are in this league. So I feel like I have a pretty good sense for how to space that stuff out and get done what needs to get done.
Yeah, we've talked about that before with your prior experience from the personnel aspect of it, and now working your way up the coaching ranks like you are so successfully. How much do you think that gives you a little bit different twist? I mean, was that discussed in the Tampa Bay interview? Were they like, wow, looking at your background, at your resume, that's an interesting dynamic. Was that much of a conversation?
Yeah, that stuff comes up. I'm proud of that. I think that is something that differentiates me a little bit, maybe from some other people that are in similar roles that I find myself in. So those things come up, and I love talking about it because I think it's a major part of who I am and how I've gotten to this position in my career. And I think it's going to pay great dividends for me moving forward if and when those opportunities present themselves. So I think it helps give you big picture perspective. It helps to be able to evaluate and know really what goes into that from the ground up, and having learned how to do that, and then what it takes to put a roster together, all those different things that factor in. That's it's a lot. There's a lot that goes on that side of it, and I'm glad that I've had that experience. It was a while ago now. Those things get a little rusty, just like anything with time if you don't use it every day. But it's definitely part of the foundation of who I am.
Dave Lapham here. And if you're looking for a new and exciting work opportunity, check out one of the fastest growing companies in Cincinnati, First Star Logistics. All you have to do is scan the QR code or visit us at firststarlogistics.com to learn more. Sure. So in NFL, I'm going to draw an analogy, I guess, to a big puzzle. An NFL team, personnel-wise, like a big puzzle and put together, and every year it's different. I mean, there's not going to be the exact same pieces in that puzzle carry over from year to year. There may be a high percentage if you're fortunate, but and then there may be years where, geez, there's not a whole lot of pieces that carry over. That process of putting that puzzle back together again, like you talked about with free agency, with the draft, with everything that goes along with it. Where do you prioritize as an organization? I mean, they've got 19 guys on March 15th will hit free agency. 5 of them are starters. The only offensive starter, Hayden Hurst. There's 4 defensive guys. You throw Joe Burrow into the mix. Boy, man, can we get him re-upped, extend his contract a little bit early and set a budget there so we know what we've got to handle all these other pieces. I mean, it's a major undertaking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's those are the big questions that are what kind of chart the path forward for the organization, and that's all the guys I just mentioned upstairs that work on the so diligently on the personnel side, and then Zach obviously plays a major role in that, and talking with Mr. Brown and Katie and Troy and PB, and they all come together and they make the decisions that they think are best for the organization moving forward. And we have full trust, as somebody who works for those people and is responsible for my own little part when it comes to my position and whatever's asked of me. It's great to work for people that you have total trust in, who you understand the process. They're transparent with how they do it, why they do it the way they do it. And it makes all the sense in the world. And so, that makes it fun to come to work every day because you believe in it. And, you understand that's what's got us to this point, and that's what's going to help us sustain moving forward.
So all that we're talking about during the season, the actual coaching, the putting together game plans and coaching the players and all that sort of thing, and then everything your responsibilities include in the off season in terms of helping formulate what the team is going to be from a personnel standpoint. What do you like most about your job? Is there anything? Is there one particular thing, or is it so many things that you don't have just one?
No, I love the season. I love the preparation for the game and all the strategizing and deciding what you're going to do schematically, and then and then being responsible for getting the quarterback ready and communicating all those things to him, and then taking his input and relaying that to the head coach and the coordinator, and then being able to kind of mix all those things together, and then being in the moment on Sunday. I mean, that's what, you know, you do this, I do this because of the competitive fire in me. You know, I don't know how else I could ever satisfy that in the world outside of this job. And that's why I do it. And I get to do it every day. And that's what energizes me. And so really that's my favorite part. There's no doubt about it. And then it's this time of year where you realize, you know, you get to put the work in and that work is ultimately, hopefully, going to give you a better chance to be successful in those moments in the fall, you know. And so that's where, you know, you have to be able to connect those dots and understand how important what you're doing now is, so that when you do get to those moments in the fall where the juices are really flowing, you've put yourself in a great position. So that's kind of how I view the whole thing.
I bet there's nothing better than when, you know, you kill it all week long, like you said, coming up with a game plan, coming up with a formula for success that you think, and then you go against these brilliant defensive minds, and they're like, they've done some things like, wow, geez, I'm gonna have to make some adjustments here. I mean, I wasn't necessarily expecting this, and that's just what the NFL is all about. It's about adjustments to adjustments, then adjustments to those adjustments, kind of thing. And when you, at the end of the day, at the end of a game, when you have out adjusted the opponent as such, and really made some big adjustments that won the football game, there's got to be nothing better than that.
Yeah, that's a great feeling. But I'll preface that with, we all understand as coaches that all the work we do is very important, right? But
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we're on the sideline. The players are on the field.
They're making plays,
and they're the ones doing it. And so you have to always keep that perspective, right? You're not, yes, you certainly play a big role in how you put the plan together and all those things, but you can never, I think it's dangerous to think that it's about you, because it's not. It's about how can you get those guys ready, and then you take joy in their success, because they're the ones out there. They're between the lines. They have to actually go execute. And so that's probably the thing that gives you the most joy, is that when the guys you're responsible for preparing go out there and play as well as they do, and the team has success, that's what you really relish, more so than, oh, we out schemed them, you know, like it doesn't, because like there is a little bit of an element of that, but it pales in comparison to just making sure your players are ready, and then them going out and doing it. That's what really gets you excited.
And Joe often talks about how connected yourself, Joe, Ryan Callahan, just how connected the whole thing is. He said he's talked many times about it's just an extraordinary experience to be privileged to be a part of, you know. And obviously you guys feel that same way. You guys all march to the same beat of the drummer, don't you?
I think, you know, we have shared background, and we view the game similarly, you know, but we also all bring kind of our own past experiences to the table, and what's worked and what hasn't, and things we like and things we don't like. And I've said this before. I think the biggest key in it, and it's the tone that is absolutely set by Zach Taylor, is that there's just an absence of ego. And so if you respect the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis, and you respect their process and their opinion, and know that it's coming from a good place, and you're willing to listen and take those things in, I think you can do a lot of really good things. And it's a fun environment to work in. And so I think that's how Zach has built this, and we have the right people that believe in that. And it's working, and it doesn't mean it's going to continue to work. We still have to work at it. It just, past success doesn't guarantee future success, but I do believe that the process is the right process.
When you say similar backgrounds, it is, you know, a lot of dads were football coaches, you know, and that's a big deal, when guys grow up around football, like a lot of you guys have, you know. Joe and the coach, everybody's got that same kind of DNA, that same mindset, that same respect and love for the game of football. I mean, that all that stuff, people like that's cornball. It's all factors, isn't it? I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, you got to love what you're doing. I mean, you're never gonna be your best self if you're in an environment that you dislike, or that you're doing something that you're not passionate about. I mean, we chose this profession for a reason. It's because, well, for me, it's my passion, and so you keep that perspective, and you never work a day in your life. That's kind of I believe that. I don't have a lot of other stuff. I don't have a ton of hobbies. I don't have a lot of stuff
right
outside of this. I have, I have some stuff, and that's great, because you need that. You need to be able to step away. But this is my hobby. This is I love this. And so when you get to do that every day, and you surround yourself with people that feel the same way, it's pretty cool. It's a great place to be, and it makes coming to work a lot of fun.
I've often said this to friends and family. I said, I know a lot of you guys have had an experience where you're driving to work in the morning and you're white knuckling the steering wheel because you hate it. You don't even want to go there that day. It's like, man, I got to do this again. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I said, you know what, guys? I've never had that. I mean, I feel so fortunate in that I've never ever said, that's the last place I want to be is at work today. Never experienced that. And that when you can say that, that's something pretty special, I think, don't you?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I know I have that. I have that same perspective on this job. So it's pretty cool.
So what do you think? I mean, there's obviously tweaking that can be done. I mean, I know you're in the early stages of seeing what's out there in free agency and seeing what's out there in the draft and putting this football team together. But some of the meetings, the debriefing meetings and everything that you've had, is there a point or two where, boy, if we could, just add this or add that component, we could even take it to another level?
Yeah, I would say for us as coaches, it hasn't quite gotten to that point yet. I'm kind of still just very focused on, just making sure I've covered my bases on the quarterback position and free agency and the draft. Like that's your responsibility. Whether or not the organization ultimately decides to invest in that position in either of those areas, well, that's not my decision. That's the organization's decision. But it is my job to make sure I know all those guys, so that if my opinion's asked, I can give an informed one. And so that's really kind of where I'm focused. And as the spring moves on, there'll be an opportunity for us to come together and really be able to talk about those things as a staff. But we haven't really done that yet from a big picture standpoint. It's more about guys covering their own individual bases.
What do you think about when there's a realistic possibility that at some point in time here in the very near future, you may be coaching a guy that's making $50 million a year? I mean, to me, that is so mind-boggling, because I'm a product of my rookie year in 1974. I mean, if a guy was making $50,000, he was a gazillionaire. It's like that 50,000. Are you kidding me? He's making $50,000. Oh my, that's impossible. Now it's 50 million. It's incredible how the league has just mushroomed and grown. It's nuts, isn't it?
It is. There's that side of it. I try very hard as Joe's coach to not involve myself in any of those discussions. Yep. I don't view that as my role. The thing I love about Joe is I know no matter what happens with the business element of it, he's going to be the same person, because I know what he's made of. I know what's important to him. And so that's awesome when you have somebody that it doesn't really matter how much money he's going to ultimately make. He's going to be the same guy who's driven by an intense competitiveness and desire to be the best. And so I know I'm going to have that guy regardless of how the other stuff shakes out. So I'm just excited that I get to keep working with him.
Your years with the Cincinnati Bengals, the evolution of the organization has been dramatic. And now after these last couple of seasons, Joe Burrow at the helm, it's a destination. I mean, now in free agents, people are like, yeah, Cincinnati, they're in my top 5. They're in my top 3. They're at the top of my list. I mean, I'm thinking about Cincinnati. It's a real deal here. What's that like? I mean, that has to be just a heck of a feeling to know that there's really literally nobody out there that would not have an interest as a free agent coming to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to the culture that we have developed over time, and that you want guys who care about that. You want guys where that's important to them, is that opportunity to win and be a part of something bigger than them, and a part of something that they can believe in. So, that's a really good thing, I think, for the organization, and on a case by case basis, you deal with that as it comes, and you trust the people that are in the decision making positions that they'll make really good decisions in terms of who we add. And sometimes there's hard decisions about maybe guys that have been a part of this that maybe will find themselves elsewhere, and that's part of it too. You just have to move on and put yourself in the best position you can moving forward. So yeah, that's a good thing though. I mean, that's obviously it's a good thing. It's exciting that that we're viewed that way by potential free agents.
Coach, I appreciate you carving the time you carved for us this morning. I don't want to be too selfish. I know you've got things going on. Like you said, everybody's hitting that ground running after taking a little bit of time away, and glad to see you back, recharged, refreshed, and ready to roll. I know you'll have the best offseason you ever had, and the Cincinnati Bengals as an organization will as well. We look forward to catching up with you down the road, sir.
All right, Lap. Appreciate it, man.
Have a great one.
Yeah, you too.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.